So today we're going to talk about our positive and negative experiences as online teachers, and we're going to mention some of our personal pros and cons and some general pros and cons that we've come across as online teachers. And then right at the end, we're going to just share a little bit about why we chose to become online teachers and why we are still online teachers. So firstly, what would you say is maybe a positive experience that has stuck with you since becoming an online teacher?
All right. Well, there are so many, but the one that really has stuck with me, about 2 years ago, I started teaching a really, really small boy, and he was a complete beginner. He could not speak any English at all. Now, after 2 years, I have seen how he has gained so much confidence. He can now listen to my different instructions. He can make sentences on his own. And so for me, it's just so rewarding to see how they have gained that confidence in themselves, So for me, that has been the most positive experience. And for yourself?
Yeah, I agree with that. That kind of made me think of when I started becoming an online teacher and went through my training. I was so nervous and I was really doubting myself. And just like you just said, you had a student for more than 2 years. I had my first student and he was a tiny little boy. I think he was about 5 years old when he started with me. And to this day, I still have him. And it's been like 3 years and I've watched him grow and learn. And, we're able to have a conversation in English and he's understanding what I'm saying. So I agree with you. Those moments are just the best. And you build that relationship. So for me, a positive would be just building those relationships with your regular students, and just watching them, like you said, grow and learn and just be able to, at the end of the day, have a full conversation with you in English and they understand what you're saying. So yeah,
100%.
I agree with that completely. If I had to mention a negative in the online teaching world, and this might just be, just me, but I kind of have a bit of anxiety every time I get a new student because there's no background about the student. You don't know where they're coming from. You don't know what level they're on. When you go into that lesson, it could be really good and great and you're having a great time, or it could go the other way. And it has happened, but that's just, the nature of online teaching and what happens. You're not quite sure, where your students are coming from, what they are like when you're having new students. Yeah.
Definitely agree. I must say that for me, I definitely agree with what you're saying. Sometimes it is quite, anxious and I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. But what I have found is that I really get so sidetracked if there's a rude student in my class, although it does not happen a lot. But I have had 1 or 2 very rude students.
Yeah.
And that really makes me feel terrible because I'm actually thinking, is it because of me? They really don't want to be in the class. So that can actually dampen your whole day if you have just that one bad experience in the class.
Definitely.
So for me, although I'm quite lucky that I don't, that I haven't actually experienced that a lot, but the few times that I have has really just, it's always there in the back of my mind. What if this one student is also going to be like that? Because it really does dampen your own confidence. It makes you feel like you actually don't know what you're doing because you can't get through to the student. But I think at the end of the day, it's not your fault, because it could be something that is going on at home or at school. They might be stressed. So never ever blame yourself. But for me, I have found that to be one of the most difficult or negative experiences.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So stemming from those positive and negative experiences, what would you say is maybe mention 1 or 2 pros and cons for being an online teacher?
All right. So for me, the number one thing about being an online teacher is that it is extremely flexible. You have the opportunity to open up your schedule as much as you can, work around that, which is really, really great. So from that, my negative would be if you don't get enough classes, or, at the beginning, it might be a bit slow. And if you are only relying on this online teaching job, then your income won't be as stable. So you have to make sure that you do have a backup, to pay all of your bills. So for me, that could be quite a negative or a con to online teaching.
Yeah.
And for you, what do you think?
I agree with that completely. I would say flexibility is my number one pro with being an online teacher. My negative would be you're not guaranteed lessons and a stable income. So that would definitely be a con for me in this time alone. If I can think of any others, I would say another pro for me is the one-to-one classes. I really enjoy working one-to-one with my students, and I've never really been drawn to like a big group of students. So that would be a pro for me as well. And also exchange rate. If you're a South African, it's great. Most of the companies are based overseas anyway, so you either earning money in dollars or pounds or whatever currency your company is kind of working with. But for South Africans, it's great. It's a good time because you're getting that exchange rate, and because our rand is so low, it's really good. So that's definitely another pro to being a South African online teacher.
Yes. Yeah. And just another thing that I was thinking of, sorry for interrupting, you have to make sure that you sort out your own tax.
Yes.
So if you are teaching online, then you have to either employ somebody or try and figure it out, because you have to make sure that you are paying your monthly taxes, because many of the online companies don't do that for you.
Yeah.
Make sure that you pay your taxes.
Yes. Good point. Good point. I forgot about that one. Yeah. So if somebody had to ask you why you love online teaching and maybe why you've chosen online teaching as opposed to teaching in a physical classroom, what would you say to them?
I think it also just goes back to my number one pro of it being very flexible. But also like how I, touched at the beginning on seeing my students that I see on a weekly basis grow and gain that, self confidence in speaking English, and seeing how they are enjoying it and how they are actually, becoming better English speakers. So for me, I just love that one-on-one interaction, just like how you said. And I think, teaching online is the perfect platform for that.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I definitely agree. So it's definitely that one-on-one lesson situation that I love, and that I kind of struggle to find out here in South Africa. There's not many schools that offer that. A lot of them are just really overpopulated, and I just didn't enjoy that. So that would be my first go-to, would be just the one-on-one lessons. And when I was younger, a couple of years ago, I was traveling quite a lot, and it was kind of the perfect job for me to do that. I still taught lessons wherever I was. I just made sure I had all my requirements in place. So again, the flexibility of being able to travel and still working is great. So I think all those pros and cons that we kind of mentioned all gets thrown into like a little hat. And, that's kind of what I tell people about my online teaching job. But for me, the pros definitely outweigh the cons with this job. And I've just loved it. So it's pretty straightforward, just all those pros I've mentioned in the beginning are basically why I've chosen to stick with online teaching.
Yes.
So yeah,
definitely.
That's about it.
I think we could actually talk for hours,
Yes.
about our, different experiences and why we love to teach online. So if you have any of your own positive or negative experiences, please can you comment below? We would love to hear from you, and we will see you next time.
Yes, please comment down below and remember to subscribe. So see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Become a TEFL expert with IQ TEFL. Go to our website at www.iqtefl.com to find out more.